one Pokemon in specific that that Rose could get down and start in the active spot, and that's that Klefki.
Yes, that Klefki, and it will be absolutely huge in terms of a setup Stifler, of course, when it's in the active, all basic Pokemon in play have no abilities, and so with that, you won't be able to use that Teal Mask Ogerpon, the X's Teal Dance, in order to get that going.
They just heard the crowd. I'm sure you can hear it from the booth over here. You can see them both look up and say, is that for us? Guys, you guys are special, you're awesome, but unfortunately that was not as exciting as probably what happened on some of our other streams. But don't go to those streams, stay here for TCG. We promise this match is going to be good.
Yeah, it is. So just because the problem is, we don't have any Brazilians on stream right now, that's the problem, right? No Latin American players, so yeah, the crowd noise won't quite be the same. Oh, and again, there's definitely something going on in the game, so I don't even know which one that's for, but yeah, something crazy going on here. But we have a game to focus on, so let's take a look at these prize cards to start with. Oh, we see the Pheasantipity, the Drifloon, and the Screamtail. Oh my god, there's a free one-ups all prize. That's brutal for Rose.
That's pretty bad. You can only grab one if you play something like the Hisuian Heavy Ball.
But also the Kyurem prize for Brent, which is going to be the big card for him too.
Yep, Kyurem being prized, not great. The single Dark Energy, you need that for the Monkey Dory to use the Adrenabrain ability, so there's a little bit of something for everybody in the prizes as we get ready for the top 8 match. Rose will be going first. We'll see if she's able to, get that Klefki, like we mentioned, started up in the active spot. Brent, no stranger to this stage. You can see he is excited, but I'm sure also nervous to be back on stream as we get into this here. Top 8 at LAIC. Brent up against Rose. Gardevoir versus Regidrago.
And Rose starts the Klefki!
That is an excellent Pokemon to start. Starts the Klefki in the active spot. No need to have an energy to retreat. Just has it. It's bright. It's shiny like a pair of keys in front of my eyes. But it is there, no doubt. And also has the Buddy Poffin to put these Ralts into play and start to build up Gardevoir via Curlia, then into Gardevoir, have Refine on deck. This is the whole MO of the Gardevoir deck.
Well, I could not ask for a better start here from Rose. Going first with a Klefki in the active and a Buddy Poffin, and Hisuian Heavy Ball as well to get one of those prized attackers out.
So I'm really interested to see what Rose is going to choose to grab in this situation, because Pheasantipity is a very important card to make sure your deck runs smoothly. But the Drifloon and Screamtail are great Bravery Charm users that have uses in a lot of other matchups, and I have to be honest, grabbing Screamtail probably would not have been my first choice in that situation, but it is definitely the most versatile out of all of the Pokemon available.
Well, you need an attacker, right? Because if you don't get out a Drifloon or a Screamtail, you're pretty much, attacking with Gardevoir? Like, there's only 2 big damage dealers, so you have to pick one of them.
Yeah,
I guess it was always, and then I guess quite smartly there with Rose going for the other vessel, discarding the Monkey Dory, already knowing that the Dark Energy is prized. Not going to prioritize that right now. Instead, going to grab 2 of those Psychic Energies. Oh, those gorgeous play program foil energies from Call of Legends. Wow, that's some heat there, energy-wise. If you know, you know.
We've got some bling, some discreet bling, some play Pokemon stamped cards. We saw the Buddy Poffin, of course, having a promotion back during the summer. You could get some of those foil cards, including the Technical Machine Evolution. So we'll see if Rose is rocking that special card as well. And now the only choice here is, do you commit energy to one of these Pokemon? We'll actually put it onto the Klefki, so could always be discarded via a retreat, and that's going to be all she wrote. Action passed over to Brent. We'll see exactly what he's got access to. I believe that Canceling Cologne was also in the prize cards for Brent. That is another piece that can be used to shut off the Klefki's Mischievous Lock ability. So as of right now, as long as Klefki is active, the big ability unavailable to be used, by note, is that Ogerpon's Teal Dance, as well as Squawkabilly's Squawk and Seize, which is always important if your hand is a little bit weak.
Yeah, it cannot be overstated just how good it is to start with the Klefki against Regidrago. I think if you don't start with it, I think like you were alluding to earlier, it can be a very, very tough matchup, especially as you noted, Rose is playing this version of the deck that is kind of the more aggressive version, doesn't play the Manaphy, so very vulnerable to Trifrost, which we know that the Kyurem is prized in this instance, but it's still something you have to think about. But yeah, with the Klefki start, no Teal Dances going on, no Squawkabilly going on, it's a super, super strong start for Rose here, about as good as you could ask for.
Yeah, and that Canceling Cologne is in the prize, just double checking, as well as a boss's order. So as of right now for Brent, if he wants to use his basic Pokemon's abilities, he'll either have to hope that Rose moves that Pokemon out of the active spot for him, or he'll have to find one of his 2 remaining Gust cards in the deck, the Prime Catcher A-Spec and the Boss's Order, since one is also in the prizes.
Yeah, very, very awkward. Pretty much like almost all the outs you could think of to Klefki being prized for Brent, and as well as one of your strongest attackers in the matchup. So very awkward prizes essentially for both players, but at the very least Rose could kind of work with it with the Hisuian Heavy Ball. Brent does not have that privilege.
Does not indeed. We'll see Regidrago V as the selection off Ultra Ball. Did get to, get rid of some of those key Dragon Pokemon, mainly that Dragapult EX. It's the main copy target for that Regidrago V-Star's Apex Dragon attack, allowing you to do 200 to the active and then put 6 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon however you'd like. See the Drago get benched, the energy attached for turn, and there's only one card left. I assume it's either a Research or an Iono. It is going to be that Iono. Both players will go ahead and shuffle their hand. Brent does not have one, so he'll just draw 6, as Rose will also get 6 cards, as Brent continues that first turn for himself.
Yeah, so 6 cards are drawn there for Rose, well, for both players actually. There's a Temple of Sinnoh for Brent. Not really going to be a useful card in this matchup unless you just want to use it as a stadium bump. But not much else going, it seems. There's a Giratina V-Star, and there is an Earthen Vessel, so you can go ahead and play the Earthen Vessel, grab a couple of energy, get that Giratina V-Star in the discard pile, set up to be copied with Apex Dragon on the Regidrago V-Star, but not much else other than that, it seems.
Yeah, it's always a little bit of a risk against the more aggressive build of Gardevoir to just leave a single Regidrago V-Star in play. There's always a weird world where it could be knocked out. However, because of the prize cards we know and the resources that are unavailable, I think it's pretty safe to say this Regidrago will be safe for the time being. However, in the following turns, if not much changes, that's going to get more unlikely as the game progresses.
Yeah, and not only that, but given that you don't have the option to do Teal Dance, right, you can't really dig into your deck further. We see that it's not just the extra energy attachments that makes the Teal Mask Ogerpon so good. Those extra cards drawn, you think it's only 1 card each time, but it does add up, and it gets you further and further into your deck, and that's just not something that Brent has access to right now because of that Clef Key.
And the choice here for Brent is, what do you want to do with the rest of your hand? And it looks like nothing else, just will be the pass over to Rose. What does Rose have? This is a pretty solid hand from the look of things.
Oh, look at that.
Already has the Kirlia, and there's also that Technical Machine Evolution. The big choice here now, though, is what do you discard with Refinement? It looks like thinking about getting rid of the Technical Machine, no, but instead is thinking about what other card. But the problem here is there's just so many good cards in this hand.
There's no good discards.
Yeah, the Nest Ball you want to find Pokemon, the Bravery Charm you want to increase damage. It will be the Bravery Charm hitting the discard pile, and a great find there. Finds 2 powerful supporter cards. One of which that I would probably say is a little bit better in this spot is that Arven. You could search out the secret box and get ready for a powerful turn next turn after using this Technical Machine.
Yeah, and going to go ahead and Nest Ball for good measure too. I imagine, yeah, it could be thinking either a third Rolls or Radiant Greninja could be great as well, just to have another means to discard more energy and draw more cards. Going to have a look through and decide based on the rest of the deck first before taking that decision, but I think it looks like she's leaning towards the Rolls right now,
well,
between the two.
The issue between Radiant Greninja is Klefki does shut off all basic Pokemon.
Oh, yeah, shuts off yours as well, right? So
you would not be able to use Radiant Greninja's Concealed Cards ability.
At least not right now, yeah.
Yeah, as long as that Pokemon is active. So we'll see the Ralts be the selection, and that means that Rose will have guaranteed 3 Kirlia out into play on the 3rd turn, having all this card draw set up, the fuel to discard those energies, to feel Psychic Embrace, a lot of good things to think about. And I think the last question is, what is your supporter for turn? It's actually going to be Iono. I'm not sure I love this over Arven necessarily. You now run the risk of potentially, drawing into those Kirlias, and then if your opponent plays Iono the next turn, you are unable to, evolve those into play. So it's always a risk you could think about. However, in this instance, Rose not drawing into any of those, does have the Radiant Greninja now, but of course that cannot be used thanks to the Klefki being in the active spot.
Yeah, and although, you could retreat to then make use of it, you do not want to do that. You want to keep this Klefki in the active, you want to stifle Brent's setup, and instead, going to go for the Ultra Ball to find another Pokemon, maybe going to be, that second Kirlia, why not, right? Get it down as well, go for a Refinement, and then you can go ahead and finish the turn on a TM Evolution, maybe just straight up evolving one of those Kirlia into Gardevoir already, and then evolving the second Rolls into, or rather the third Rolls into another Kirlia.
Yeah, this works too. I think normally keeping the Ultra Ball gives you a little bit more options going forward, but at least you can just draw 2 cards now and then go ahead and use the Evolution. However, you would shut off that Kirlia, so it's essentially the same thing in that case. Yeah,
it is. So going to be considering that, and actually, looks like not going to go for the Refinement straight away, but will evolve the Kirlia that used the ability into the Gardevoir EX, and then the bench Rolls going into the Kirlia. So going to be feeling pretty good for next turn. 2 Refinements available on board, plus the Energy Acceleration ready to go for good measure as well.
So this is going to be a big turn for Brent. If he's unable to attack here, Rose has pretty much set up her entire board. Has everything she needs to, get things going, finalize out this game, and figure out if she has what it takes, right, to have enough gas in the tank. We've seen some resources get discarded, but for Brent, you've really got to think about that prime catcher. If you can get an attack this turn, it's going to require you to have some form of gust, and with there really not being a lot else in this hand, and research as a supporter for choice, you're not going to be able to use boss to get around this Klefki.
No, you're not. So I think it's probably going to be a dig off of this Legacy Star V-Star power, because I think there is a supporter in hand who can use a dig a little bit further, but if you want to do anything this turn, yeah, you need to find that prime catcher. It is the only way to play around this Klefki right now.
I believe has another Professor's Research in hand, so can look at 7 more cards, hopefully find that prime catcher, but that is always an option to dig through the deck, discard those top 7 with the Legacy Star, V-Star power, and then go from there. So that is the selection. We'll see it get evolved. We'll see potentially these 2 Pokemon come into play. So it will be the Ogre Pawn, a Regidrago, and a Professor's Research. Big 7 cards here for Brent. Can he find the grass energies needed to power up these Ogre Pawns and the Prime Catcher? And does find the Prime Catcher. That is a big find. Remember, Kyurem is in the prize cards, but can still at least apply some pressure to the draw engine, knocking out a Kirlia, maybe placing some damage counters on the Klefki, as well as possibly setting this Gardevoir EX up for an easy knockout later on. Exactly what he needed to find this turn to strike first in this matchup and take the first prizes.
Yeah, now the other thing that's going to be interesting here is, can he set up this Regidrago V-Star without making use of the Legacy Star V-Star power? I think it's very poignant what you said earlier about how the later you need to use the Legacy Star, the more likely you are to win. Because if you need to use it early to set up, sure, that's fine, but then it's at its strongest when you use it in the late game to get back the resources that you need. If you can't do that, then that makes it really hard to close out in the late game. So let's see if he can do it here, whether he will need to. Oh, looks like there's a Noctowl. Might be able to get him now, actually.
This is the star card. It's found its way now into this Regidrago deck using Jewel Seeker thanks to Teal Mask Ogre Pawn being a Terrestrial Pokemon on the bench, searches for the Jamming Tower, and that is an excellent card at shutting the Bravery Charm off from having use.
Yeah, it is, and there's only one counter stadium in Rose's list as well, which is that Moonlit Hill, so we'll need to find that if she wants to make use of her tools again. No Lost Vacuum either, from what I can see, as an alternative stadium out.
So now the question is there an energy switch in Brent's hand? There is the Prime Catcher. I don't think we've seen an energy switch yet, so this is a pretty interesting decision here for Brent. Grabbing the Jamming Tower makes me think there is the potential that Brent may just sit on this hand for now, not burn the Prime Catcher and just pass the turn over, and that is going to be the choice. So Brent valuing the Prime Catcher to have a higher usage than to maybe take a chance here and instead put the Jamming Tower into play and force Rose to, maybe go after a way to bump the stadium, and then Legacy Star can grab it back, and winning the Stadium War with Jamming Tower could be huge here.
Yes, especially considering, as you already mentioned, there is only the one stadium bump in here, which is the Moonlit Hill. No way to get it back either, so there's pretty much going to be one turn of tool usage that Rose can make use of. And don't forget, if you use the Psychic Embrace, attach a bunch of energy to one of these low HP Pokemon to do more damage with their attacks, if the tool gets shut off, then you lose that extra HP and you get KO'd straight away. It's like a free KO almost.
Yeah, like Lost Vacuum, and that's sort of one of the reasons this deck has fallen back into favor is these tool removal cards have fallen out of popularity. And what other deck than Gardevoir really takes advantage of having, tool security? I don't think there is another deck.
No, not at all.
So Rose will continue. Does find 2 energy cards off of the Earthen Vessel. So the more energy that hit the discard pile, the better for this Gardevoir EX to start using Psychic Embrace to power up the various Psychic Pokemon Rose has access to. It looks like will be both refinements used, and the Scream Tail finally comes into play. The big question now is how many Psychic Energy cards are in the discard pile, and could we see something like Secret Box possibly make something happen? It looks like instead, though, not even going to use tool cards at this point. This is a little bit of a risky endeavor, I must say. Putting these damage counters on Screamtail, yes, it does boost the damage it can do to any Pokemon, but at the same time, it means Phantom Dive will be that much more potent at taking knockouts onto a Pokemon like Screamtail if it hits the bench.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what Rose is thinking here. I mean, now with that Klefki being retreated, you do get to make use of that concealed cards, draw a couple more. We do see the Arven in the hand, though, so you can use that to grab the stadium counter. I think you can actually do enough damage with this Screamtail to knock out the Regidrago V-Star.
So it's not quite.
Is it not?
If you have 140 HP, thanks to the Bravery Charm to give you 50 more, you can put a maximum of 12 damage counters. So you would only do 240 damage.
Okay,
that is the
never
maximum
mind.
with how it works. Since you have 12 damage counters, times the 2, right? So that would not be enough. There is the Moonlit Hill grab, so of course that can bump the stadium, and there's not enough. But instead, just going to preemptively grab the box of, or excuse me, I said box of disasters. This is a good box. This is a good box. It's a secret box.
Yes.
And instead, just going to hit this Regidrago for 120 damage. You're working on it a little bit, but now these abilities are all online, and I have to wonder, yes, you're striking first this matchup, but was it really worth dealing 120 damage in return of giving your opponent these abilities? I mean, yes, Prime Catcher's still good, but this is something you have to think about.
Yeah, I guess it's going to come down to whether, what Brent needs to burn for resource-wise in order to get this Regidrago going, right? So this one Regidrago is just 1 energy away from attacking, so that's fine. You set up a little bit of damage on it. You can do a follow-up KO with it on it with something else later. So maybe Rose is thinking, if I can just go through these Regidragos quickly enough, do one and then the other, I might be okay, even with the abilities being back online. But it is a risky move for sure.
So we do see the Teal dance onto that Teal Mask Ogre Pun. We'll make sure there is no damage on that. I think he was just marking using the ability. And there is the Prime Catcher switching out this Screen Tail to the bench, bringing up the Kirlia, and has a Professor's Research to follow up. So at the minimum here, if Brent chooses to, he could take a 2-prize turn. Oh, so he's just marking it with the 1. Okay.
Yeah.
So putting the 10 on it just to mark. We could use something like a coin, would probably be a little bit more useful.
Yeah,
and does draw cards and finds the first of many, I'm sure, energy switch he'll be looking for this game.
Yeah, definitely, I think a little bit confusing there to mark it with the 1, so definitely using the upside down burn and poison marker is probably a better way to do it, as we do see Teal Dance number 2 for another energy attachment and another card drawn. Does find a super order for that, and has the energy switch ready to go to start getting this other Regidrago V-Star powered up. And this maybe slight gamble that Rose is going for might not be paying off here, because we do see that second Regidrago is raring to go very quickly indeed. It might be a little bit of a tricky spot for Rose going forward in this game.
And this is going to be the big decision for Brent. The first part is very clear. You've got the Dragapult EX to copy. You can use Phantom Dive to knock this Kirlia out and place 3 damage counters on the Scream Tail. The question from there, though, Freya, is where do you put the remaining 3 damage counters to get the most amount of value in the following turn?
So I guess you could, if you wanted to just go very simple, you could just put 2 of them on a Kirlia, right? And just force it to evolve so that it's not out of, so that it then, in terms of Phantom Dive range, you could set up maybe on the Clefty a little bit, or you could start to set up that Gardevoir EX for a big knockout as well.
Yeah, so the Gardevoir is interesting, since if it's ever going to attack, it will usually put itself in range of a Lost Impact KO. I do think I like what you said, though. Put some damage counters on the Kirlia, and then that one McClefkey is always nice, since it means that you can put 6 on it from a future Phantom Dive to knock it out. So we'll see what Brent decides to do. I think we'll either see all 6 potentially be put onto Gardevoir, or he'll decide to, or all 3, excuse me, be put onto Gardevoir, or he'll spread it out. I think the thing that he doesn't have information on, though, is the Dark Energy is prized.
Yes.
So because of that, it's definitely a lot riskier to put the damage counters onto the Gardevoir EX, since, Monkey Dory can come down, a Dark Energy could get played, and then all of a sudden, you're not getting as much value, if that makes sense.
And for that exact reason, it's going to spread out the damage counters, the remaining ones, as much as possible. So it's going to be 2 onto the Kirlia and 1 to the Clefty. I think this makes complete sense.
So Brent takes 2 prize cards, striking first in this matchup in terms of the prize advantage, as Gardevoir EX is promoted for the turn. Notably, Brent yet to use that Legacy Star. The more turns he can go without it, the better off he's going to be in the late game, where this Gardevoir deck really shines.
Yeah, and that's it. You want to kind of stifle Rose's board as much as possible with those Phantom Dives, and especially if he gets to that stage where he can get that Kyurem out the prizes, finishes off with a Trifrost. Won't be quite available yet, but now it's up to Rose to really decide how she's going to make best use of that secret box. Going to go ahead and use it. I mean, this has got another Bravery Charm. Doesn't feel amazing, but the third one is in hand, so she knows she can go for it. Just she needs the Stadium counter, though. That's the problem.
It's tough. I mean, you could use Refinement here on one of these guaranteed discard cards to just try and find, 2 cards that are better to discard, but instead it is going to give up that second Bravery Charm, so only 1 more remaining. But in return, along with the other 2 cards hitting the discard pile, Rose can get to search for every trainer card available. The Supporter, an item card, a stadium, and a Pokemon tool card, and put them all into the hand. No tools remaining, so it will just be the Earthen Vessel, Moonlit Hill, and the Iono, and this is an instance where Moonlit Hill has so much value.
Yeah, it really does. And not only, of course, getting more Psychic Energy in the discard pile with the cost to pay for it, but also healing all your Pokemon by 30 damage, which is huge here. Well, Psychic Pokemon specifically, but yes.
Yeah, so essentially all of the bench damage done by Brent is for naught at this point. It will all be healed, and additionally, this Gardevoir EX potentially with a manual attachment to the active if Rose has enough energies could also put itself out of lost impact range, right? You put the 2 Psychic Embrace, that puts it to 40, you attach for turn, and then by using the Moonlit Hill, it only goes down to 1 damage counter on it, thus being out of that one-hit knockout range. So let's see if Rose sees this line. Also has Refinement available to use in concealed cards, and while those cards are glowing green on the bench to be used, I really like to see her do this play, and it looks like she is going to go for this, essentially protecting all of her Pokemon next turn, since Brent has yet to find that Kira.
And she doesn't want to risk using concealed cards because she needs 1 energy in hand in order to play this to pay for this Moonlit Hill. So yeah, going to play it, keep the energy in hand, discard it for the effect of Moonlit Hill, all that damage killed off that Psychic Pokemon, and then it's going to be an Ino for good measure after that too. Really, really strong line from Rose here. Big
turn for Rose, saw that line. Now all of these Pokemon are essentially safe from being in risk of a 2-prize turn for Brent, which is exactly what he wanted to line up these next couple of turns. Being at 4 prizes, you really don't want to put yourself onto odd prizes. It can make things really awkward.
So, looking through the discard pile now.
I think the big thing here for Rose, again, is going to be what are the 2 cards taken from these prize cards. Remember, the Hisuian Heavy Ball and the Drifloon are both in the prizes, and it looks like if Rose is going to take these prizes from the bottom, those are going to be the exact 2 cards to grab, which means all of the basic Pokemon that were originally prized will be out of the prizes after this turn, and also going to go ahead and play this Super Rod before things end off.
Yeah, the only thing that you aren't able to get here, of course, is that Dark Energy if you're going to go in that order, like you mentioned, which you really do want because you want to make use of that Monkey Dory in order to make it use the ability to move more damage counters from your side onto the opponent's side. That will be huge in this matchup too. But even so, you're just, with the Drifting and the Hisuian Heavy Ball, got to be feeling pretty good all the same. So yeah, Miracle Force, 190 damage, takes the knockout. The first 2 prizes for Rose, a super strong line and turn from her.
So action on Brent here. He's going to promote the Mew EX, so does have free retreat, so no matter what he decides to do, he can always pivot into every Pokemon. But this hand does not look strong here for Brent. After drawing a card, already has his hand over the V-Star marker.
Oh dear.
We're going to get it used. Let's see what these 7 cards discarded are. Does discard an Energy Switch and a Super Rod, but the rest of those cards are A-okay. Let's see what these 2 choices are. Are we going to see something like the Jamming Tower potentially come back? I'm not even sure if he has the flexibility for that, since the rest of the hand is kind of lacking, if I'm going to be honest.
I think you just need to get back a Fire Energy onto it. No, still going to go for that Jamming Tower. Okay. Just valuing it that much. But, I mean, it's 3 Fire Energy in the deck, right? 2 are in the discard pile.
I have to imagine if Brent is considering grabbing Jamming Tower, he's going to have some way to attack at this point. It wouldn't really make sense for Brent to shut off tools for the rest of the game in return of taking another 190 damage minimum this turn. So I think that's just what Brent is thinking about at this point. Can he afford to take the Jamming Tower while not risking the inability to attack?
Yeah, but it's a very rough. You see he's umming and ahhing about it a lot. He knows that if he commits to this, there will only be 1 Fire Energy left to work with, but he's going for it. Is the Earthen Vessel already in hand? No, I don't believe it is it? So he has to dig for it here.
I think there is a Nest Ball and a Super Rod.
Oh, Super. Okay, so there we go. That makes a big difference.
So interesting choice here. Oh, I see what we're doing. So instead, holding on to the Super Rod, using Legacy Star first, and now can use Flip the Script. I know a lot of players would have sequenced that differently, but I know Brent has a reason that he's making these choices in this order.
Yeah, so now, and I do believe there was a Nest Ball in hand as well, wasn't there? So can Nest Ball straight away for that Fascinativity and use Flip the Script to try and find this Fire Energy, when also good considering how thin the deck is.
Yeah, so now this bench is full. It's always risky, to have just 1 Regidrago in play, but you're going to be a lot more comfortable and secure knowing that these lists are almost always playing the same cards, right? Just like Henry said, people are, copy and pasting this deck.
Oh, big free cards. Was that? I didn't see the. No, it's 2 Grass Energy, so 2 more chances to find it with these 2 Teal Dance, number 1.
2 Teal Dance. Of course, those fires got shuffled back in.
There
and
it is.
Does find the Fire Energy off of that first Teal Dance with the Energy Switch and the Jamming Tower. Brent is going to be able to shut off tool cards for the entirety of this first game, meaning something like Drifloon taking a big first knockout, or excuse me, just a big 2-prize knockout on Regidrago V-Star will not be an option. Brent's going to have to just put as much damage into play as possible and see if he can close things out.
Yeah, but now, one saving grace for Rose here, which you might doesn't necessarily notice, but the fact that with that play, you prevent Brent from taking a KO means that you cannot get that cure him out of the prize card. So Rose is going to have at least 2 turns to work with to try and pull off this win here, and that's going to be good for her. I would really like to see, if possible, if she could like pick up this Gardevoir EX with a Professor Tourist scenario. We saw it discarded, but I'm sure she can get it back.
I'm not actually as certain. There's no Palpad
Wait,
in this deck.
Oh my god, I'm just assuming.
This list is not playing Palpad. I don't know if I'm certain here, Frank.
No, I'm not certain. No, I'm quite opposite now.
I think the damage is staying in play. And let's remember, the Dark Energy is also in the prize card. So Monkey Dory cannot heal any of these Pokemon in play. The big question now for Brent, how can he navigate through this? If he had Kyurem, I think this game would be a wrap. But the fact that there is no Kyurem makes things a little bit more dicey in terms of finishing it off. Don't count out Rose yet in this first game.
No, not at all. Now, this Pheasantipity might seem a little bit risky here because you could think of like a Phantom Dive double knockout play, but that wouldn't necessarily work that way because the Pheasantipity has 210 HP, so a Phantom Dive, bringing it into the active, would be 10 short of a 4-price knockout. So she can bench this if she wants to. I don't think there's any way for Brent to manipulate the damage to make that a 4-price turn, but instead it's going to be the Refinement first. 2 cards drawn. Does find that Scream Tail again.
Does find the Scream Tail, but it's always a little bit risky to put that down just because of what happened earlier on. You put damage counters on it. Sure, you can deal some solid damage, but it's at the price of, the more damage counters you put on it, the easier it is to be knocked out on the bench via Phantom Dive. I mean, the biggest thing Rose has here, though, Brent did have to use his V-Star power last turn, so things like Iono are going to hit a lot harder from this point on.
Yeah, so here comes the Arven now. There is not a lot of it left in the deck, but still going to look through regardless. Going to find Bravery Charm and... wait, hold on. She's grabbing the Bravery Charm. Does she have another out to the Jamming Tower?
There is no out to the Jamming Tower. There is just the one Stadium card.
Okay, so just getting to discard. Okay, I was going to say, because I'm pretty sure we looked at the list extensively to make sure that wasn't the case, but just getting it as discard father. So Ultra Ball going to come in. What's she going to grab off of this? Is it going to be that that second Gardevoir EX, just to really buff up the HP of this Curlier on the bench?
Has to evolve it up, but no matter what, one of these Gardevoir EX will be knocked out at the end of the turn if they stay in the active spot, pending that Brent has Giratina V-Star in his discard pile, which at this point I believe is most likely the case.
Yeah, and this Scream Tail now, with no ability to buff up the HP, is doing a maximum of 160 damage, so can't KO anything for 2 prizes on Brent's bench, which is not a great position to be in, and can't even combine it with something like a Monkey Dory to make it a KO next turn because that Dark Energy is prized.
Yeah, this is a situation here where, honestly, I would have really liked to see even something like a Monkey Dory Confusion attack. It's something really awkward, but with how many resources Brent has, gone through at this point, it could be a sort of a Hail Mary play, because from this point, how do you stop your opponent from taking these last 4 prizes before you? You're 2-shotting this Regidrago V-Star, but if Brent can just take 2 prizes this turn and then follow it off with a Radiant Charizard on the following turn, that could be all that he needs to close this game out. And it looks like not even doing much here. Just going for the Phantom Dive, knocking out the Klefki and this active Gardevoir, and now putting the pressure on Rose to find a way to secure this game 1.
So and I know for sure has to come down because, you have to prevent this play from coming in with the Radiant Charizard to close things out. So this Gardevoir has too much damage on it. Wait, actually, no. Radiant Charizard would be 10 short of a knockout right now because it only has 5 on it.
Well, we'll have to see exactly what attack is being used. At minimum, if this Gardevoir wants to retreat, you have to use Psychic Embrace twice. So no matter what, this Gardevoir will be in range.
Yeah, and as we already mentioned, there is no option for a Professor Tourist. Wait,
is it there?
Wait, I thought no, it got Iono'd. It didn't get discarded.
It did get Iono'd. So the Turo is actually here. Maybe that was a card that Rose wanted to find the previous turn. You see Boss's Orders get put to the top of the hand. However, Brent has smartly saved this switching card, has kept it in the hand.
Wow.
The big thing now, though, for Rose is this Turo is not going to have a lot of use, since if you use Psychic Embrace onto a different Pokemon, Brent is at 1 prize card. if you use a lower HP Pokemon, even an attack like Teal Dance, even, you know, some smaller attacks, the attack on Noctowl could again take a knockout on some lower Pokemon. So it feels like how much value is something like the Professor Turo getting at this point. We'll have to see. There is a great 2 cards, though, off of that concealed cards. Counter Catcher Iono. This may be the Hail Mary play for Rose. Bring up a 1 retreat Pokemon, get the Scream Tail down, use that Roaring Scream to take a knockout on this Regidrago, and hope there is not the cards necessary for Brent to attack with Radiant Charizard.
Yeah, this might be the best move here, just to minimize the chances of even, like what you said, one of those small attacks getting it done. Yeah, goes down the Scream Tail onto the bench. I mean, you've got to play the Ino here, right? There's no way. But actually, not going to go for the counter catcher, it looks like.
Interesting. I feel like you have to go for that counter catcher and give yourself a chance next turn. Even just bringing up something like the Pheasantipity, right? You remove all the energies out of play, and you force that switch from Brent. Instead, valuing that card maybe to close the game out on a future turn.
Possibly, yeah, Brent, I can see it.
But by knocking out this Regidrago, Brent is going to have access to Muse Restart to fill the hand back up. The Pheasantipity EXs flip the script ability. It feels almost inevitable that just the Charizard and an energy card is way more doable than, you know, one of those energy switch or switch as well.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what, it's not a great position for Rose to be in, right? It's she's working the best of what she has, but I think you're right. I think that with the amount of cards that Brent can draw, even after this disruption, I think that he's going to be able to get there, and we'll be going to a game 2. But let's see how the last 2 turns play out. We don't want to assume anything just yet.
An interesting thing to note, the switch was in Brent's hand before the Iono, so it is on the bottom of the deck now. We are going to see the counter catcher afterwards, so wow, Drew back into the counter catcher, it seems. Of course, playing the 2 copies of counter catcher. So Rose, I think, making the smart play here, bringing up the Pheasantipity, but there is the restart, and there is the Pheasantipity's flip the script ability. Let's see. Draws into the Radiant Charizard, and now Brent is going to check the deck, see how many cards. He knows how many went to the bottom of the deck, so he's going to figure out how many cards he can potentially draw, either without shuffling the deck or trying to shuffle the deck, so that he can, you know, change the order of where that switch or fire energy were.
Yeah, because you need both, right? You need either an energy switch and a switch to either switch out the retreat or switch out the Pheasantipity, and you need the fire energy. So actually going to go for the boss's orders for good measure as well, just to get another card out of the hand. You will be doing enough damage regardless. So restart, 3 cards. What are these 3 here? It is fire energy.
Yeah, the fire energy, that's piece number 1. And if Brent has both an energy switch and a switch in hand, can he get there? Switch. And he finds the switch, fire energy switch, combustion blast, closes out game 1. Brent Tonisson moving 1 game closer to top 4 at LAIC.
And wow, what an impressive display from Brent. Even with that really disadvantageous start with Rose starting with the Klefki, still managed to find a way to set up and pull it through, even without making use of Triforce, right? I mean, that was a really, really great display from Brent there.
Fought through all adversity, the prizes the Klefki start, but he had enough to close things out. You know, Rose was really close there. You have to imagine maybe the Professor Turo was found a little bit earlier. That could have definitely played around with the math a little bit. What we really can't understate, you know, the effect of Jamming Tower staying in play, as well as Monkey Dory being offline, meant that this Phantom Dive was just able to apply so much chaos to Rose's bench during that game number 1.
Yeah, but let's go back and look over some of that chaos, just try and make sense of it all for ourselves and for you guys at home. The replay for this game 1, as we saw, yeah, Rose with a very, very strong stifling start with that Klefki's mischievous lock ability in the active. Eventually did switch into, you know, the Scream Tail to start get some attacks going. That enabled Brent to get the setup going on his own side, start doing some Teal Dances, and starting to be energy switch onto the Regidrago restart to get some attacks going in. And then from there, even with no cure available to him, with it in the prizes, and the Canceling Cologne still in the prizes too, we're just able to close it out by finding that Radiant Charizard and that switching card and the fire energy.
It was so close there. If Rose, you know, if Brent misses that turn, I think Rose has almost got it, as long as she can get, you know, the Monkey Dory back online and knock out that Mew. But Brent able to close things out, even without the Kyurem. You see a smile on his face. You know he's close, and I think Rose also showing, I didn't have Dark Energy that game, so both players playing at a slight disadvantage. We'll see how things shape out if their prize cards allow them to execute their full strategies.
Yeah, and I imagine Rose will be going first again, which will be helpful, of course. If you're going first, not only do you get to get your Evolutions out first, but you have a chance to search out that Klefki from your deck and put it into the active spot as well. So really, really important to go first in this matchup, as we do see the opening hand start to be drawn. Looks like, oh, hold on a second. This hand isn't looking great for Rose so far. I can see it. Oh, that's a very dead hand from Rose.
We'll wait to count our chickens before they're hatched
I guess
at this
so.
point.
I guess so. But I'm saying we can see the hand here, and it is not looking good for Rose here.
Gardevoir is notable for having a lot of hands that don't allow you to play the game very much. So let's see what happens here. Good luck to both our players. Let's get into this. What is the top deck?
It's a Professor Joe scenario. Again, look at that hand. It's just going to be a attach pass.
It's just going to be a attach pass. And hold on here, Freya. There is a world where Brent can win the game on this first turn. If he can get down a Teal Mask Ogerpon and another Teal Mask and use an energy switch to power up Myriad Leaf Shower, we could see Brent advance to top 4 through one turn. Either way, though, this is still a big advantage, and I'll be curious to see if Brent decides to play aggressive towards that turn 1 win condition, or if he sets up like normal, since he's still at an advantage.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, you can almost kind of do both, right? You're probably going to want to be aggressive anyway in terms of drawing through your deck with those Teal Mask Ogerpons to set yourself up with the Regidrago V-Stars attack. And those prize cards as well, looking at okay, very workable, so nothing really stopping him from being able to go ahead and take this first turn win here. But yeah, like you also said, even if you don't get it here, it's not really the end of the world.
So we'll see Brent play the Nest Ball and the Earthen Vessel. So Teal Mask Ogerpon does come down. Notably, the Jamming Tower in the deck. You've got things like Squawkabilly, so you can dig a little bit deeper if you'd like. It does now have Grass Energies thanks to that Earthen Vessel. Let's see if Brent's got what it takes. Either way, though, not what you want to see if you're Rose. You're down a game. You have the advantage of going first. Things went really well for you early in the game, and you were still not able to close it out. You need things to go like that again for you to have a chance. Not like this, Freya. Not like this.
No, literally, it's the polar opposite of what you want in any match, let alone the top 8 of an international championships. In comes the Teal Dance number 1. Attaches one, draws one card. Oh, let's see, going to draw the card there. Let's see, there's another Grass Energy. It's a Pheasantipsy. There's
hold on. Has the energy switch in hand. Brent Tonisson is one Grass Energy away from advancing to top 4, since this Nest Ball can grab another Teal Mask Ogerpon.
Oh my goodness. One more Grass Energy will do it, because yeah, you can just energy switch to one for the second Teal Mask Ogerpon. You've not used your manual attachment for turn, and you can announce Myriad Leaf Shower and take the game and take this top 8 set.
This is big for Brent. You got to take every opportunity that presents itself. Teal Dance, number 2. So many outs here for Brent. So many cards that can win him the game. What does he find?
It's a Giratina V-Star.
Does have the energy switch. And this turn is not over, Freya. There's a Professor's Research. Here we go. Big 7 cards. All Brent needs is one Grass Energy. Can he find the Grass Energy?
Wait. It's an Earthen Vessel! He's done it!
Earthen Vessel in the hand. Brent Tonisson can find the last Grass Energy, and he makes it to the top 4 of LAIC. Nothing Rose could do. It was all Brent. Game closed out in one turn. You hate to see it, but if you're Brent, you love to see it. Brent Tonisson, ladies and gentlemen, what a performance from him. He is now locked up for an automatic invite to Worlds. Not like that was going to be a challenge for him, but more importantly, one step closer to becoming a champion at LAIC.
Wow, huge congratulations to Brent. Yeah, like you said, not necessarily how we would have liked the game to end, but I mean, a bit of a highlight reel moment, let's be honest. The turn 1 knockout with the Teal Mask Ogerpon, Myriad Leaf Shower on that poor little Drifloon, and I think it's safe to say that Rose's balloon has burst in terms of the chances and dreams of becoming an international champion.
Looks like she's laughing about it in nice spirit, which is hard when something like that happens to you on a big stage, but you've always got to commend, being friendly, taking it in stride. Still, though, top 8 at an international championships, an excellent accomplishment for Rose. Congratulations to her.
Yeah, especially after being out of the game for so long, right? I mean, she must have taken like a really, really long break from that seniors win all the way back in 2015, but clearly showing that after so long out of the game, still has it,
Absolutely. You see that Worlds 2015 deck box, so maybe, embracing some of the glory from the younger years. But again, Brent Tonisson taking it with confidence, getting himself into the top 4 where he will be playing up against a, solid opponent no matter how this top 8 bracket works. He could be up against Charizard, he could be up against Goldango, he could be up against a Terrapagos deck. There is a whole wide variety of Pokemon action